as his focus on maintaining the rule of law. Because it's the rule of law. It is the respect for other human beings, which is really respect for human rights, liberties and freedoms. That, I think, distinguished that leader. Because he stood for the rule of law and the respect for other human beings, whether they agreed with him or not. It made him understand the importance of leaving people to live their lives free. Free from violence, as you are aware, that he basically pushed very hard when he took over office to end violence in our country, which was rife. And he simply said, whether you are MMD, since he was MMD, or you are opposition, you will not engage in violence in the name of a political party. I think that's very important. And I'm getting to yesterday. He also understood that unless you are fair to others, your fellow citizens, those that you share a country with, unless you treat them within the confines of the law, and that they are able to enjoy that which he wanted to enjoy and any other citizen, society will become difficult to govern. This is where we are now, where society is becoming difficult to govern because we are not applying same principles. We treat citizens differently. If one commits a crime, he's from the ruling party, he's scot-free. And this is what is bringing the tension in our country. If you deny citizens their right to assemble, their freedom of movement, their freedom to campaign in an election situation, if you take away their right to dress, liberty to dress the way they want, to dress in a party regalia when they choose to, you restrain them by getting them beaten through party cadres, you are creating conflict in society. And I think this is what the late Manawasa did not allow, did not tolerate. He provided the leadership that I think is, just a quick one, that is, in my view, missing now, to make sure that every citizen has a space, has a role. He is the same individual who realized that if someone has a different opinion from you, it doesn't become a permanent enemy. You must reach out. And I'm coming to what you said yesterday. He took a view to reach out to the late President Sat, a very serious adversary of his. And I think there was that reconciliation. Used his office, understood that as head of state, he had an extra duty, an extra responsibility to reach out to citizens so as reconciliation could happen in the country. And I think it's normal for people who are in one environment to greet each other, isn't it? Absolutely normal.
This is what we wondered.
This is what is human. So, as of yesterday, what happened was that I arrived early. My team and I arrived early at the cathedral, Anglican Cathedral. We were seated where we were seated, the other corner, far left corner, if you are facing the church east as we were. And my colleague came in much later and was seated in the right-hand corner. We were in the left-hand corner. And the problem started in earnest. I think, in my view, it was circumstantial, that maybe it was difficult to say hello to each other, although the opportunity was there. For me, when I had the opportunity to do it in Choma at the late Mkongwe's funeral, I walked over and greeted my colleague. I did that as a natural reaction Not that I plan to do it, but because you treat people. That's what normal, ordinary, decent human beings do. But yesterday, it didn't happen for whatever reason, so I agree with you. So I think the contextual issue I'm raising here is that
So you would have loved him to walk over to you, or probably, how would you have loved that?
No,
even in the church, you wouldn't have stood to go and greet him?
I've just given you an example of what I did in Choma, and stood up, went and greeted my colleague. How are you? Welcome to Choma. Thank you for coming to mourn the late Nkomo. That was a short conversation in Choma. Another example I want to give you is that we were at a graveyard one day. We were burying relatives, and we happened to be at the same burial site with my colleague's wife. And I found time to walk over to greet her. It was public posture, but done naturally as a normal human act. I think it was in public domain thereafter, as the Choma was. Yesterday, it didn't happen. It would have been nice if it happened. It didn't happen. I think that's the issue.
All right, let's move on, Mr. President.
Yes.
Let's go. President, the late President Mwanawasa spoke harshly against corruption. What is the scenario today? What do we learn from this man whom we just buried 10 years ago?
I guess this is one of his hallmarks, the late Mwanawasa. As we started discussing, the first was really respecting the rule of law, human rights, liberties. Second, freedoms. Number 3 was the area of governance. I think earlier I talked about violence, how he ended violence. Maybe number 3. Number 4, he basically pushed the importance of governance. The governance, good governance, is critical, was critical in his view, is as critical now, Colin, as it was then. And within the issues of the good governance is really respecting institutions of governance. Institutions of governance. Judiciary, parliament, that MPs must make laws in the interest of the people. But also, more important, the subject you raised, corruption. I think the late Mwanawasa understood the importance of fighting corruption, which today we have lost. Today we view corruption as a normal way of living. And this is why we are paying the huge price of a degraded standard of living. Because most of the money that is meant for households is taken away through corruption. Is stolen, let's use a basic term here, is stolen through corruption. And corruption in that sense is denying when money, for example, Lusaka and Ndola Road, which is around 350 kilometers, should cost only $350 million. That road is costing $1.2 billion. It means, Kanan, over $800 million is stolen through corruption. That's what's happening today.
But again,
the late Mwanawasa would have not allowed that.
But you are being challenged by others to say, show us proof that there's any other country in Africa which is constructing roads at a cheaper price than we are doing it here.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure why some would really throw a challenge like that if they live in this region. Because if they live in this region, they should understand, such people should understand that Zimbabwe is doing a road from Beit Bridge on the South African border to Chirundu border post, on our border, here with Zimbabwe. And that's a distance of almost 1,000 kilometers. And it is going to cost the Zimbabwean taxpayer $1 billion. $1 billion for 1 1,000 kilometers. Muchima, there is the comparison which is relevant. Why would we, it means basically we're spending, Zimbabwe is spending $1 million per kilometer. So that is where the comparison comes from, that therefore we should only be spending $350 million to do this road between Ndola and Lusaka. There is a fact, but that is not the only issue we need to analyze. The critical issue, which was what President Mwanawasa did not like, was to lose this $800 million to corruption, stolen through corruption, which money would have gone to invest in agriculture, to invest in tourism, to invest in industry. Which money would have gone, if I return to agriculture, for us as UPND, to lower the cost of farming? If it meant subsidizing fertilizer, seed, implements, if the money in Zambia was not stolen today, post the late Mwanawasa, as we have seen corruption rise to unprecedented levels, it means part of that $800 million, which is stolen through the Lusaka and Ndola road, we could have used it in investing in agriculture, including subsidizing inputs, which would have lowered the cost of production in agriculture, which would have led to more production and basically creating more jobs. As you may know, one of the critical issues we are facing in this country today is that we are not creating jobs. Young people, women, youth, others who are employable, current, are unemployed. They cannot get jobs. Despite that PF campaigned on the platform of more jobs, there are no jobs. One of the reasons that there are no jobs in this country is the high levels of corruption, which the late Mwanawasa fought vigorously. Today, we are entertaining money stolen openly while we're looking which money would have helped us to increase investment in these productive sectors and then create jobs. Which money we could have, which increase in agricultural production would have led us to basically sell stock feed to Botswana as a neighboring country, and not maize for us as in the UPND, the way we do it, and sell milli to Congo DR and not maize. Why? Because we would then do what is called value addition. Through the processing, we would then create more jobs. I want the viewers tonight to see the connection between our view that corruption must be fought vigorously because it takes away the income that should go to investment to create jobs. Therefore, help the youth, help the women, help those that are unemployed today. Because corruption has taken that money, the few leaders in PF and their associates have taken that money, they built mansions out of this country, money which could have been invested in these productive sectors, such as agriculture, tourism, and agro-processing through value addition, and we were creating more value, more exports to earn foreign exchange, more jobs, more business opportunities in terms of contracts. You know, over 60% of our people depend on agriculture, direct or indirectly. And that is how President Mwanawasa's fight against corruption assisted under his leadership the growth of the economy. Remember, during his time, there was an increased production in agriculture. There was surplus production in agriculture. The link Zambians must draw is that the fight against corruption is critical because it saves resources that will help you to grow your sectors such as agriculture and tourism, where the jobs will come from. And when the economy grows, then you can also assist the poor. Today, the poor, the vulnerable, the youth, the orphans are unable to go to school because we are not growing the economy properly by allowing corruption to go unattended to. Very colossal amounts of money we are losing through corruption. That's why in the UPND, our policy, in line, in agreeing with the late Mwanawasa, is to have a zero tolerance policy on corruption so that we can save that money and put it in the productive sector and create the jobs and business opportunities.
But there's some people you are accused of corruption. You're just pointing them to say these are PF. they also say, I mean, there's nowhere where you can point corruption. If you're talking about any road out there, the money they're getting, they're investing it in roads, they've invested the money in sectors that will ultimately improve the economy of this country. They've talked of investing it in ZESCO to improve the operations of ZESCO. They've talked of putting that money into Zambia Railways, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, but that is not true. Karan, if that were true, you would have seen a higher economic growth. Which part today, if citizens who are listening can answer the question, which part today do they believe can create jobs? Which part today do they believe can create jobs through increased investment? Is it a peer? The answer is no. Why is it no? Which is the question we've asked. There is, if they were investing money, the money was not stolen through corruption, you will have seen more jobs. Are they there? They are not there. You would have seen a huge agricultural improvement where farmers would have been paid a better price. Are you seeing that? It is not there. That's why farmers are being paid initially 65 kwacha. After some of us raised complaints or issues, advised this government, which hardly listens to any advice, they increased the price to 65. I mean, it was from 65 to 70. That still is not enough. And we argued that if they were investing this money in the right sectors, then they should have been able to pay farmers at least a price above 90 kwacha. And to show you that we've been right ourselves, there are private buyers now, big agricultural companies that are paying 95 kwacha per bag, when the government is only, paying 70 kwacha after being pushed. These are the clear examples that are beginning to show citizens, even who may have not been following these debates, that this government cannot claim that they're investing this money in roads, and therefore they are making strides and benefits. There are no benefits. Otherwise, the economy wouldn't be growing at 2%. When the late Mwanawasa was there, the economy was growing at 7% plus. The fact that the economy is now growing at a lower level and is not creating jobs, is not creating business opportunity, there is no money in this economy, is evidence enough to show you that the argument that they're investing in sectors that will help citizens is not true. If it were true, the economy would have been better. Citizens would have had more money to spend on food for their children, which is not happening. They would have had money to send their children to school. It's not happening. Children are out of school. Those who leave school would have been in employment. They are not in employment. This is the evidence that they are not investing the money properly. Secondly, Kalan, so to say, sorry. The quality of roads that we build at a higher cost, the quality of roads is very, very poor. So we are spending more on poor quality roads. Again, you can do a comparison with our colleagues in the region. There lies the problem. There lies the connection between the inability of today's government of the PF, and when you compare it to what the government of the late Mwanawasa was then, performing better, creating jobs, growing agriculture, paying farmers on time and a decent price. All of these things are not happening today. So if you ask yourself a question, which party would fight corruption better today? PF, no. UPN, yes. Which party would grow agriculture today? Because when you fight corruption, I've already demonstrated to you, you create savings which will then invest in other sectors. You put in other sectors which will help you create jobs. Which party will grow agriculture today? PF or UPND? I think an average person will answer to you that if it was PF, agriculture would have been better. So it's UPND.
It depends on where you belong.
No. Independent of that. To be honest, because for the PF, the failures are there. They're evident. Even those who believe...
And then I bring into the issue. They are saying, how do the money? They say, we're the only government that is building a state-of-the-art airport, both in Osaka and other Commonwealth. And this will increase traffic, which will ultimately result into economic development.
Got it. It's a laughable matter. Again, this is a clear exhibition of ignorance from our colleagues in here. To make an argument like that presupposes that when you build an airport, there will be a direct implication, positive implication on the increase in traffic. What traffic? Planes, isn't it? Airport is for planes. That is far from the truth, because it is not a beautiful airport that will bring planes here. It is the way that you run tourism that will bring tourists to this country. Before a tourist thinks of landing at an airport, they want to know that your tourism sector is managed properly. The cost of tourism products is competitive, meaning it's lower than the neighbors. That's why we in the UPND, we will not focus on that issue of state-of-the-art airport. We will focus on improving tourism, lower the cost of rooms, and we know how to do that. By lowering the cost of rooms, which includes many, many factors, you will increase the attractiveness of your tourism sector, Karen, which means that you will have more tourists coming to this country, not just because of the state-of-the-art airport. Yes, you need an airport, and I'll explain that just a little bit, but because you have a viable tourism with lower taxes on the tourism product. What do I mean? For example, we don't need to have an expensive room. For us in UPND, we want to reduce the cost of that room rate to make a tourist understand that if they came here, they will have value for their money, Victoria Falls, national parks. But if the room is too expensive, they will not come. So ours will be to reduce the price, the cost of the room, and we need to remove the taxes on the room. I don't want to over-explain this because I don't want to belabor this point, but we'll lower the cost of the tourism product. Our principle, Cullen, in all of these things, to lower the cost of doing business. In this case, in tourism, make your rooms attractive by lowering the cost. How? Reduce the tax on the room rate. Remove the VAT, for example. Let me be specific. Remove the VAT on the room rate. By doing that, your destination in tourism between us and the peer. Please, viewers, you need to follow these things and pay attention to these things. It's very, very important. Otherwise, if we do not follow these issues the way they work, as the late Mwanawasa did at the time, we're missing the opportunities. Now, if the rooms become cheaper, more occupancies, then you'll find that you can employ more workers in the hotel. Before you think of the airport, the current airport we have there, the runway, is perfect because the volumes of traffic planes to come to follow business in Zambia is still low until we improve the business attractiveness in terms of the tourism, in terms of investment in agriculture. If the cost of doing...
So you don't support the construction of it?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. And this is why these programs are very important, because I do watch these programs, Karen, sometimes, and I see people like us politicians answer questions in really a non-meaningful way. And therefore, people don't make a distinction. So by making tourism attractive, investing in agriculture attractive, investing in mining attractive, all of these will create jobs. But you then compare the volume of traffic attracted by your business in different sectors. That's when now you can say, okay, we need to have another runway. We need to have proper handling facilities. What you have seen at the airport is not an improvement in the runway, safety of the planes. What you are seeing there is the luxurious part, which is the terminal building. So before you think of putting $200, $300, $400 million in the terminal building in dollar, where industries in dollar and the copper belt have died. You must match the investment in the airport with the business where you're going. That's what will bring you tourists. That airport is for people to land their planes, and when they land the planes, they're not looking at whether you put $500 million, $1 billion in your airport. If you put $50 million to improve the terminal building and improve the quality of the existing runway, given the volumes of traffic, plane traffic arising from the attractiveness of your sectors in the country, mining, agriculture, tourism, you will have done enough, and you don't have to show off to anybody. The show off is unnecessary. It's what is called a fool's paradise, right? Where you overinvest when you have not done your homework in the sectors that will attract tourists to come to your country. That is the explanation I'm giving you. And when you've done these things, you've matched them properly, you will see that you need to make modest investments in your airport and make huge investments in your agriculture, in your tourism, in your mining, in your manufacturing. And because people are attracted to invest in your country because the cost of doing business is lower, as I've explained, you remove the excessive taxes, too many taxes, which are inhibiting growth of the sectors and therefore job creation. We need to put our youth back into employment. The airport is a supportive facility. It's a secondary facility. The primary facility, it is these sectors that PF is failing to improve. Now, you put $500 million over an airport, but you have not dealt with your attractiveness of the tourism product. Who do you think will come here? To come and do what? To come and admire your $500 million airport? That's wasted money. That is lack of prudence. For us in the UPND, we will do the reverse. Make the sectors attractive. Then the support infrastructure like airport is there to match, to develop in line with the volumes of business that is coming. So I think that is very, very important, and that is where Muchima, the difference comes from. But the reason you must ask, why is Botswana having a modest airport? But the Botswana economy is doing better than Zambia. Why? Have you been to the Gaborone airport? Modest airport, one main runway. The economy is doing better than Zambia. Is because they understand what comes first. Because in this country under PF, there's haphazardness, there's lack of vision, there's lack of connecting things, what comes first, what comes later. That's why you see people priding themselves that they build huge airports. Those are white elephants. It's money wasted. Lesser money, $100 million was enough. And then the rest, if it's $500,000 airport, $400 million, put it in agriculture, put it in tourism, in the measures we have talked about. Then you are going to match your airport with the value of the attraction. So now, and the jobs come from there. My friend, let me just conclude by saying on this matter, the reason there is an attraction by the PF to invest in huge amounts of money in airports is the bait of corruption, which we talked about again. Because that's where they make money through those contracts, and then they pocket the money. They don't even spend the money in the country. They take the money out of the country and create jobs outside of the country, in Dubai, instead of making money here, investing it here, and creating jobs here. This is the crisis that we see today. And that's what we've been explaining here, to draw a connection between corruption and job creation and lowering the cost of doing business through lowering the taxes. That's why you see taxes have gone up here.
Right. We'll be touching on taxes. But as we conclude on the topic of corruption, finally, given an opportunity to manage the affairs of this country, how do you intend to end corruption once and for all?
Zero. UPND's policy on corruption, zero tolerance on corruption.
Is that attainable?
Absolutely.
How do you intend to do that?
Well, look, first it starts from a policy direction, a clear policy direction that corruption steals development money, corruption denies children food in their homes, corruption basically denies us the opportunity to grow the economy, and it takes the country into areas where people are happier to buy bigger cars. Uchima. When what a minister needs is an average car, modest car. You go to England, you find that English ministers drive modest cars. Here, we have an economic crunch, we have a credit crunch, we have basically a debt crunch. But ministers in the PF have just bought expensive cars. They've just come into the country. They're coming into the country. Can you imagine this flamboyance that corruption brings? So once you say there will be modest in this country under the UPND, a minister must drive a modest car. And anyone caught in corruption, the law will take its course. The Anti-Corruption Commission must be given independence, operational independence. They must be funded directly under the UPND by Parliament so that no one can restrain them from doing their work. And when the leadership, a lot of these things are leadership. We're talking about the late Mwanawasa. He provided leadership in the fight against corruption. Under the PF today, there is no leadership in the fight against corruption. Absolutely none. So I think we pronounce that, zero tolerance on corruption, clear direction from the leadership, follow it with institutional strengthening, Anti-Corruption Commission, Auditor General. You've seen the Financial Intelligence Center. They produce reports. They told us what happened. No one is being prosecuted. And they're asking for evidence. Earlier you were asking me for evidence on something. There is the evidence sitting in the Financial Intelligence Center report. Nobody is being prosecuted. We change all of this. We give those institutions authority to do, and financial capacity and independence to do their work. When they've done their work, prosecution must commence. And you see that people get used quickly. They got used to President Mwanawasa fighting against corruption. Immediately he died, corruption came back. And now come back with a vengeance because of the absence of leadership. We will provide leadership, we'll follow it through, supporting institutions, improving their capacity, and giving them the independence. There's no sacred cow, the independence to follow cases, to prosecute, to do what they need to do without interference from State House. Today, what you see is interference from State House.
Right. Before I forget, according to you, what is a modest car? I repeat that again?
Why? I bet. Very clear.
No, you say in the PF they're using these flamboyant cars.
PXs?
V8s,
huge engines.
When you come into power, according to yourself, when we come into power,
yes,
we are going to make sure that the minister is driving a modest car. I'm asking a question. What's a modest car? Or which one is a modest car?
Pajero is a modest car. Prado is a modest car.
You want your ministers to be driving in a
A double cab Toyota Hilux is a modest car. It is functional. It will take you where you want to go. It is low on fuel consumption. Again, lowering the cost of government, because politicians really,
all right, okay, thank you.
So shouldn't be consuming money which should go to, if you like, council workers. Council workers, just a moment. Council workers have not been paid from June. Council workers with low salaries have not been paid from June, July, we're in August. And how can anyone really serious about running in the country purchase V8s, purchase GXs, huge, expensive vehicles, probably in the true cost over $200,000 each vehicle, when a council worker has not been paid? Where is the service that people sought to go into government to provide? Where is the heart people have? Where is your heart? Where is your sense of guilty, sense of responsibility? If council workers have not been paid, if salaries of civil servants are delayed, if the policeman is still earning very little amount of money, a soldier is earning a very little amount of money, a soldier who goes to a mission, peace mission in Sudan, their little allowance is cut, the government takes it. Where is the morality there? Where is the morality that you're only paying a farmer 70 kwacha per 50 kg bag of maize, which is lower than the cost of producing that maize, because fertilizer is expensive, seed is expensive, flowers are expensive. Where is the sense of responsibility? It is not there under the PF. It doesn't matter what someone says. No, even if they say they support Dununa Rebels, at some point you must feel affected by the suffering that citizens are going through. Zambians today are suffering worse than ever before under the PF than under previous governments. And the reference point is the late Mwanawasa's government. You see, at least that government had a heart. This government claims it's a government of the poor. It just lied. Lied to dupe the voters. And now they're doing the opposite. Today, my brother, you look at what people are eating tonight. The house was in Mandevu here, next to your studio. What did they eat? What did the family of 8 eat tonight? Did they have a decent lunch? No. Did they have a decent breakfast? No. One meal a day. I know I live in this society. 1 meal a day. And someone is spending $250,000 to buy a V8. Why?
All right. You also claim there's no money in the economy. Where is the money? And how much is supposed to be in that economy?
The money is going to the debt, Congo, Kalowa. The money is not there. Hakuna mali, kulibe ndalama. Takulu pia, ina mali. Because one, we've talked about it already, the money has been stolen through corruption. Taken out of the country. Secondly, the money has been taken out through loan repayments. Despite that, the late Mwanawasa, again, let's go back to the late Mwanawasa, fought very hard to achieve what was called the Highly Indebted Poor Countries Initiative, HIPIC. President Mwanawasa told the people of Zambia, may so rest in peace once more, that let us go through this pain. Let us have a proper governance. Low corruption, no corruption, zero tolerance on corruption. Let us fight corruption. Let us fight over expenditure. Let us remove violence in our community. Let us have institutions that work. Courts must work fairly for everybody. Parliament must work fairly for everybody. These are the factors that President Mwanawasa put in place, which helped us to achieve a debt relief. And our debt came down to less than $1 billion. Only 20 zeros, Muchima. Mwani, 2007, 2008, our debt was less than $1 billion. Around $700 million. Only after sacrifice. And all of us as citizens saw the value of the leadership of President Mwanawasa. He dies, God takes him away. You have different leaders today under PF. They shoot this debt. Just external debt alone, close to $10 billion. In a very short space of time. Domestic debt, Ngongole, Kalowa, over $5 billion equivalent. Add the two, over $15 billion. This is the effect. Domestic in Ngongole, the government of the PF is going to banks in Zambia, borrowing the money, taking away money which must be borrowed by businesses to invest in industry, to create jobs. PF has taken it and they've used it to buy expensive vehicles. It's gone. Once you buy a vehicle, the money is gone. But if that money you buy a Prado, a Pajero, as I told you, you save $200 million. You spend $50 million on one car. Instead of 250 for us in UPND, we will save $200 million. $200 million, we will now put it in agriculture, we'll put it in other sectors where it will earn more money because it will be invested. And that's where you generate money to support more economic growth through investment. Under the PF, that money is going through a V8. In addition to that, the PF goes to borrow money recklessly, as I said, under HIPIC, which President Mwanawasa had reduced the debt in a down, which reduced the interest payment. Today, this country, under PF Muchima, is paying interest per year. It will be paying interest at the end of this year over close to $800 million. Interest alone. Which President Mwanawasa, when he reduced the loan, we were coming to probably around $100 million a year in debt service. The PF has shot up that by an additional $700 million. There's the money going. It's going because they went to borrow more money against the advice we gave, many of us, against President Mwanawasa's principles. They didn't just borrow. They borrowed at a high cost, number two. Number one, they borrowed more. Number two, they borrowed at a high cost. Number three, they invested the money in the things you were telling me earlier, wrong things, in cars, big cars, in expensive roads but poor quality. The money is gone. That is where the money has gone. That's why your colleague, our colleague, was shamelessly asking the visiting Turkish president that please help me to repay the 750 million euro bond. If they had invested that money in agriculture and in energy and created jobs, there would have been revenues from there to service the debt. For us, there are three things to help basically reduce the bleeding. We will do as you pay. One, borrow less money. Borrow less money. Similar to President Mwanawasa's thinking. Number two, when we borrow money, we borrow at a lower cost, lower interest rate, not 10%, which is bleeding the country. Because you ask the question, where is the money going? It's going into all these areas. Number three, we would borrow for investment. We will not borrow to put money in cars. Cars are useless things. Only those who are mesmerized by pieces of metal called cars would spend $250,000 in cars. You don't need to do that unless there's some problem we've had. If you own cars for a long time, why would you invest so much? Because it is taken away. It is throwing money. Once you've been accident, look at Mushima. These subjects are very important for the people of Zambia. Look at the fire tenders that were bought. Again, corruption. Instead of spending $250,000 per fire tender, this PF government, because of the appetite to steal money, they went and spent $1 million per fire tender. 42 fire tenders, $42 million. When they could have actually spent only $250,000 per fire tender. Because the evidence is that they insured these fire tenders at $250,000, which shows the true value, replacement cost. Now, we would not do that because all this is sending money out of the country.
Let's understand that. You're saying if you insure a car $250,000, that's the actual price.
Because it's a replacement cost. The insurance should allow you that when the vehicle is damaged in an accident or it catches fire, you should claim your insurance to replace that fire tender.
At the same cost?
Yes. So the true cost, this is how you catch liars and thieves and corrupt people. Because they insured the fire tenders at the correct value. But the question is that, why did they pay more? Because of greed. But the effect of that, the money went away. Instead of basically spending $250 per fire tender, they spent $1 million, which means, Kalan, we lost a working 750,000 per fire tender. That money went to the supplier. That's why you see there is no cash in the economy now. That money went, and then you are servicing a loan, and you are hit left, right. That's why you have a cash squeeze.
How do we come out of what you claim is a bad outlook of Zambia's economy?
How you come out of this situation is basically, I've given around borrowing. One, we borrow less. For us in UPN, we believe in borrowing less because we want to work more on the domestic resources.
We are also a Zambia. We've already reached this stage. We're trying to find solutions, how we can come up with what you say is a bad economic situation we are in.
Yes, it's a meltdown. It's an economic meltdown.
I don't want to use such words.
It is. You will see it soon. Let me alert you, Kala. As I alerted this country in 2012, 2013, that this borrowing will lead to a debt crunch. I was called names, that I was bitter. I was a bad loser. Those who called me names, such names now, they cannot call me those names because we've been vindicated. We said that the government is spending too much money. I hope you are aware that, Kalan, today, 50% of the budget, the whole 50% of the budget is going to emoluments and related expenses. 25% of that budget is going to servicing the expensive debts. 25%. And that's the point I want to make. Just mark that point. 25%. So 50% plus 25%, you're on 75%. Majority of the money is gone. We must reverse that. Because now you ask me the question, what should we do? We must reverse that. How do we reverse the 25% of the budget going to loans? You must stop borrowing now. Those are the solutions I'm giving. Stop borrowing too much money now at a high cost. You cannot escape that. The little that you borrow, you must invest in revenue generating activities. I've already said it in agriculture, tourism, others. Don't buy V8s. Don't pay huge amount of money traveling. After you have said that you stop traveling, you continue traveling. So Zambians are bleeding. Children are suffering. They're not in school. Those who completed school have no job. They're suffering. We must have a heart for the people. Karan, when you stop borrowing, you will then start covering the wound. You understand? Then the money that you borrowed already, for us in the UKD, you restructure. Restructure meaning that you replace the expensive debt, high interest rate, with a lower cost debt with lower interest rates. When you do that, which we will do ourselves, Kalan, it means instead of paying $800 million per year, $800 million per year in loan servicing, you start paying $200 million per year. You will have saved $600 million. And that saving, you can pay bursaries for UNZA students from the 700 million. These are the solutions. You can pay farmers a good price for their crop, chimanga, nshaba, tonje, fordia, so that they can grow more and you can have a raw material to process into maize, if you like, meal, what we call meal, and export the meal to Congo DR. Right. You can also make stock feed and export it to Botswana. You earn more money. Instead of losing more money, as it is under PF, for us, you earn more money. You also reduce the expenditure. Right. Now, my brother, these are inevitable solutions. Can the Zambians answer this question? Can PF do what I'm saying today? The answer is no. Why? They are not interested in running this country properly. They've never been interested. They're only interested in their own welfare, the small clique that are benefiting when the majority of the people are suffering. They also, I believe now, firmly believe that they have no capacity. Because if they had the capacity, they would have implemented these measures. Why did we get into this debt crunch after President Mwanawasa cleaned our debt portfolio? Why are we in a credit squeeze when we shouldn't be? Why are we in a cash squeeze? Let me alert the people of Zambia once more. Where we are heading to now is a worse situation. You will see public sector workers getting paid late and more late. Council workers not getting paid on time. You will see, because government is not paying suppliers, you will see companies that supply to government paying salaries of the workers late as well. And some of the companies will close down. When they close down, workers will lose jobs. The few that are in employment. So you're going to be worse off. You're going to see this government very soon will start printing money. That is what a failing government does. They print money, a piece of paper. They call legal tender. They will print it without backing it with goods and services, without backing it with economic activity. Then what you will see is that more kwachas will be floating around to solve this shortage of liquidity. In their minds, wrongly, it will trigger increase in prices. When you trigger the increases in prices, you worsen the situation. You produce less, and citizens pay for soap, for meal, a higher price, and more hunger in their homes, and more children will not be in school, and more young people will not get jobs. And this is an economic meltdown that PF has brought, and we are looking at Zambia. We're just watching. I am asking the people of Zambia, there comes a time when you say you cannot take this pain anymore. You come to that stage, and that stage is here. That stage is there so that you must hold your government accountable. And when they are failing to deliver, they are living lavishly themselves. You are suffering yourselves, but yet you're the one who put them in those offices to save you. Now they are saving themselves. You must say no to that.
So now you agree that it's Zambian people that put the PF in government, isn't it?
This is the ideal situation we're talking about here. Even if someone cheated, I don't want to waste time on those issues, because we must. If you see today, we are spending more time.
I was going to tell the viewers that. I know most of your members out there are expecting questions like, where have we reached with our petition? They're expecting questions of the dialogue. They're expecting questions of party convention. They're expecting questions of, are we really going to form government? They're expecting, they're expecting questions of, are we really, what's going on with, we keep losing by elections. They want to hear questions like, why is it that our members are defecting from our party to the PF? But however, the structure of this program is not going to deal with such matters for today. Forgive us, we'll call him for such kind of a discussion. Today we are concentrating more on national issues. Politics and party matters, we'll look at them another day. I know you're not going to be happy, but basically that's the way the structure of this program is. Mr. President, even without you realizing, we've touched on corruption, we've touched on the rule of law, we've touched on violence, we are yet to touch, of course, on dialogue.
Yes.
We'll touch on this, but I remember one thing. You talked of when you form government and how you're going to remove this country from the economic meltdown, you're going to replace the expensive dates with lower cost dates. I don't know if I'm right.
That is correct.
All right. But what's the difference between what the PF is saying that we want to refinance these loans? The vast Turkish company to say, why can't we refinance these loans? It's similar in the same area. Now, what's the difference between what you're demanding, what you're calling for, and what the PF are asking for?
The first and foremost, the difference between PF and UPND on this aspect is that for us in UPND, all of that we are saying tonight here, is well calculated. It's drawn out of our vision, clear vision. It's drawn out of our policies. Clarity and understanding the connections that will help this country out of this economic meltdown, social meltdown, households in upheaval, just on foot. On the PF side, there's never been clarity in their vision, what they stand for. They've never been. Some have told you that they don't have a vision. And that time, Zambians took it as a joke. When someone said that, just elect me, although I have no vision, Zambians just laughed about it. I don't think today Zambians can laugh about it. because they've seen the cost of having a leadership without vision. No clear understanding of what they need to do, how they should do it, and what you have is chipantepante. It's a clueless team in there, which is bent on making themselves happy, earn money themselves, when the Zambians who they are supposed to serve are suffering. That's the difference. So to say that they called out to the Turkish to help them refinance a loan was a response to the issues we're discussing ourselves like today, in a methodical way, an organized way, with a clear mind. It was to woodwink Zambians that they are interested in solving the economic problems. They are not. Because you cannot ask the Turkish to bail you out. The Turkish president is just visiting you, and shamelessly, without remorse, you are asking him to repay your 750 million euro bond. When the Turkish economy is going through problems of its own, it means you don't even know what is going on in the world. Suziba, you're just producing you. I'm sure somebody had whispered to them when Erdogan comes, President Erdogan comes, ask him for a favor. You don't do things like that. It shows that you cannot borrow hoping one day Erdogan will visit you and you will ask him to help you repay your loan, your expensive loan. What if Erdogan didn't visit you? What if he's not capable of paying you because he has only helping, he has his own problem? You must plan all these things. In PF, there's no planning. I said it before, that in PF is chimney, no plan. Clueless, I know. Absolutely. And you know that I went to jail for that. I was arrested for that. And I'm repeating it, knowing that some people have appetite to arrest those who are advising so that Zambians are, benefit. In PF, there's no planning. It is chimney, no plan. It is chipantepante. And now Zambians are seeing it themselves. When we said it, Kalan, Muchima, everybody will say, HH, Fisha Velanda, Akambachana, I am Bakari, HH, Akonda Bokamba Kamba Maning, Akambachana. Now everybody has seen what was. So there is no comparison between UPND and PF, Muchima, in as far as managing affairs of this country with clear vision, clarity, planning, management, and monitoring and control. If there was monitoring and control, Muchima, how is it that the PF didn't even know how much they had acquired in terms of loans? They didn't know. Until the IMF told them, mwe mfuna ndalama kwaise, mwakamba kuti debt yanu ni $4 million. Koma isetiwa na debt yanu, collectively local and foreign, is over $15 billion. At that point, citizens now became aware, Vamena natitandiza the late Mwanawaza. Tinachoka mu mavuto ya Nkongole. Tabwelela mu futi. Why? Because of the bad leadership of the PF. So how can we expect the PF to solve this problem? How can you, Muchima, how can you expect to get milk from a stone? It is not possible to get milk from a stone. You have to get milk from a cow. And to get milk from a cow, you must know how to raise the cow. You must know how to feed it. Because even a cow, if you milk until blood comes out, it will die. You only have milk for a day. Tomorrow, you will have no milk. Even the economy is like that. You've got to know how to invest, how to save. If you spend too much money on VATs, like they bought now, shamelessly, when people's salaries are not paid, imagine a policeman out there who is suffering in those camps, a soldier, a civil servant out there, a council worker out there. What do they feel when they see PF buying V8s, new cars, expensive cars, when they've not been paid their salary? Just imagine. We who seek leadership must have a heart for the people. And this shouting, Muchima, I hear, no power to, no dununary base, no people are defecting to go to PF. These are superficial and temporal issues. We saw these things when when the late Sata was in opposition, and the MMD from 2008, they were announcing defections every day, every single day. They even got Muchima, since you raised some of those issues for our members and citizens to hear. PF MPs, over 22 of them, defected to the MMD, Muchima. I hope people have not forgotten. Over 4 Secretary Generals of PF defected to the MMD. Rifekelo, Chimumbwa, Edward Mumbi, and others moved from PF in opposition to MMD. And everybody said, oh, MMD Akosa. Come 2011, the people of Zambia said, Bareke bazienda bangona bakudia bwino setibutika, we shall talk when the election comes. And truly the citizens of Zambia talked. So everybody said, but what about those defections? What about, here we are talking about councillors defecting, being bought. I hope you've heard the voice recordings which are circulating, how PF are giving people to buy UPND councillors as tomatoes in the market. And when you buy 1 or 2 councillors, you get a commission. This is money stolen from loans, stolen from roads. You see the connection? And causing by-elections when citizens wanted to stop by-elections in the new constitution. Now, just a quick one, and I'll end here. I see you're looking at your watch. Citizens of Zambia must not panic. UPND members must not panic. They must throw memory lane and look what a failing government does. As the government then of the MMD was failing, it creates artificial situations that make people feel nice that they've moved this way. We have to be resilient. The people who fought for slavery to end, they were killed, they were beaten, they never got frightened of. They continued. Today, you and I, black people, are free. The people who fought for independence, they were threatened, they were beaten. They fought. Conviction. Even if somebody said, I'm tired of opposition, I'm going to PF, how would it benefit you? Even the people in PF, majority of the people in PF are suffering. So how you alone from UPND, how will you be better? It means you are not convinced of your fight for freedom. We are freedom fighters, economic and social freedom fighters. As our fathers fought for independence, they died, they suffered, they were ridiculed, they were being beaten, they were being arrested as we are today. But they were convinced, including those who fought for slavery to end. They continue because you know you are doing the right thing. You cannot cheat yourself to say you are happy by crossing to PF. You'll never be happy because the economy is melting down under PF. How will you be happy? Agriculture is dying. How will you be happy? The jobs will not come because you've switched over and joined. Maybe for a short while they give you little money you eat. Will they give you money for the next 3 years? The answer is no. So be strong. Stay in there. You know what you're doing. This is a temporal situation. This is what a government that is failing does. It wants to shift attention from these problems to now saying, oh, yeah, everybody's moving to PF. After all, they pronounced that they want a one-party state. My colleagues, citizens of Zambia, do not even go that way. A one-party state will see you suffer like you've never before. Just be strong, remain there. God is watching. Everything is basically going to even out very soon. You will see. You can't continue buying everyone. Can they buy 17 million people? They'll buy a few leaders. Here and there. They can't.
There's one thing. Yeah. Those days, when you say, hang on in there, this, that, the next thing everybody would expect to hear now would be, it's darker before dawn. Kwashala Shupano. But those things are no longer coming out from you. No, is it that now you're forgetting, slowly you're forgetting about the 2016 and focusing on 2021?
No, Muchima.
But this was not the intention to start bringing.
Yes, just a quick one. I won't be long on this one. Zambians need to know and follow history. They must remind themselves. they must remind themselves. In 1988, you see, guys are young in this country like you, but history is there to be read so that we can learn from it there and not repeat the same mistakes. I see in this studio lots of young people. It is true. But we must know that in 1988, we had an election. And Kaunda, I think President Kaunda then won by about 90%, 80% plus. But the fact that he deceived himself that he was popular and won by 80+%, the economy was melting down. People were in homes were failing to have food, just food, like the situation now. And in 1988, a year after the election, citizens said, no, we cannot afford this anymore. By 1990, citizens made a decision. The same citizens that are said to have voted 80% of them. This is what's happening in PF now. He's really behaving like an ostrich, where you can spend stolen money to buy people because they are hungry, and buy a few people, Muchima, but you have not created jobs for the youth who you promised jobs. The farmers are suffering. Agriculture is dying. Right? Businesses are dying. Some mines are failing to pay contractors. Muchima. The pain is getting worse. And by 1991, Zambia said, no, we want an election now.
And you think that can happen?
No.
The circumstances are different. 1991 to 2080.
I'm giving you an example. I'm giving you an example that PF is playing ostrich game. Citizens who feel the pinch, I feel for them, because we are all feeling the pinch. You say something, you are a news organization, they can shut you down. We understand. You say something, you're a civil servant, you'll be retired in national interest. If you are in opposition like me, you get arrested. Right? I hope you are aware that since my detention, my brutal arrest, several other leaders have been arrested. We can't all be wrong.
So let me hold you. Let me read some messages.
Yes.
We're at 9 minutes of our program. I'm surprised the time is cruising so fast. When we come back, sir, we need to be talking about the dialogue.
Yes, I think that's a very important subject.
Yeah, let's look at the dialogue, because we need to go straight to hours.
Yes, very important.
Let's look at the messages.
Okay.
Our Mandela of Zambia, how are you, Mr. President? Our Mandela of Zambia, how are you, Mr. President? We are tired of the tax ascending in the government governance due to the highly corruption, which is growing like the bushfires. As youths, we would like to meet you. When are you available at the Secretariat? Please, from Wende in Lusaka. Of course, also tax is on our menu.
Yes.
Touched on the taxes. Yeah. Was Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo right to embarrass those traffic police officers who had mounted a road block along Lungu Road? Jonathan from Matero, Lusaka. We love you, sir, and all your sweet speeches. We understand, I should think so, but we love you, sir, and all your sweet speeches. We understood, whatever there. But why are you taking too long to sit down and dialogue with PF and these misunderstandings before 2021? That's what we are heading to. That's where we are heading to. It's known that the perpetrators of perpetrated nepotism. He called other people stinking. What results did we get from corruption other than enriching those in that task force, Park, Lusaka? Good evening, Mr. President. Is suspending the 4 police officers that were exposed recently by the Lusaka Province Minister enough deterrence and a lesson to would-be offenders? Cuthbert from Chilanga. Mr. President, when you see Zambians, we are looking like this like Ndise Vana Vamasiye. We are tied with PF. I'm behind you, Mwale Gabriel from John Lane. I'm just concerned about you, Mr. HH. Please let people know your stance on political systems and tell people the truth about what you will do for our nation. I think this part you've ably explained.
I've tried so hard.
Yeah, so I think this, because this message, I'm sure it came before, but you've ably touched this one. So whenever you have a meeting, just talk to people what you want to do for the country, not to talk about someone. By this, you have followers. My opinion, Green from Chilabomwe. Okay, I think today you've tried to...
We've tried to stick to that. We tried that very well.
All right, please, HH, now there is a problem of councils not being paid salaries. What is your comment? SMS from Zambezi Lozi. You've also touched on.
Yes.
This one, due to time, some of those that we've already touched on, let's progress to others. I'm sure they've already heard. I love you, my president. As Zambians, we are not going to rest until the will of our Zambians prevail. We are behind you, sir. Noah Sims Johnny. Mr. HH, go ahead and be like Mwanawasa or more than him. We will support you. Mutakajo Kelly Musule Kumilimo. You can read that for me.
Mr. HH, go ahead and be like Mwanawasa or more than him. We will support you. Mutaka Jokeri Musule Kumilimo Yalusumpuko. Do not go backwards. You must continue going forwards on developmental issues.
That's Armstrong from Undona.
Armstrong from Undona.
All right. We love you, HH. It's one Zambia. I would have read that, but I would have taken a lot of time.
No problem,
yeah, we love you, HH. Go ahead to denounce corruption practices going on in this country. I love you, young leaders. You have learned lessons on leadership, character from His Excellency, Dr. Mwanawasa. May he so rest in peace. Malambo, Wendy, Dr. Lusaka. Thank you. Mr. President, I'm the UPND diehard. I have discovered something in you. Why don't you tell Zambians how you are going to transform Zambia instead of spending much time talking about Lungu and his stealing government? Tell people more on that area. Banda SI from Tendere. I'm sure this is what we're just from saying. You've been providing solutions. I'm trying to tell you this so that you don't spend much of the time.
No,
Mr. Ichlema, what you are saying, it's really making sense. If you really mean it, then you can take us to the next level. If we can have you in the office, Boston, Tembo, Kitwe. Mr. President, what are you thinking about today's party members defecting to PF, Barack of Kabilushi? We've already touched on this.
Sure.
So we love you, sir, but we want to know from you, sir, petition is over or not. Think you let God protect you. Benson from Solwezi, northwestern Zambia. I'm humbled, my president. Our president, please, we need you in the field now, so that come 2021, it will be very easy to keep these guys. They have pushed us powerfuler. We want to corrupt, milking poor Zambians. We are behind you, Canisius from Chibomo. Good evening, Mr. President. Why do political leaders in Zambia not understand the word good governance like you, the way you understand from Sesheke District, Western Province? Honorable, okay. Mr. President, what will you do if 2021 election will be rigged as indicators are already pointing to that act? Anando Lusaka. Mr. President, what is the first thing you would do if you were elected in office in 2021? Nathan Msonda from Kitwe, Chamboli. Everybody seems now to be focusing on 2021. So it's done and dusted for 2016 in the eyes of your people. All right, evening presenter and HH, talk of vehicle importation tax. It's more the value of the vehicle. What will be your policy to avoid citizen exploitation?
You got that one correctly? The vehicle import tax is higher than the value of the vehicle.
All right, take note of that one.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. President, you speak so well, and I'm happy the way you are articulating issues. My question is, if you came into power, how will you sort out the Barossa issue? Won't you divide the Zambian nation? This is a topic on its own, and from me as a presenter, I'm trying to avoid this one so that we can create another space for this. So
yeah,
this
true.
one, let's reserve it. And those that we've already touched on, please, you can skip them to other issues that you've not touched on due to time.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a very important message I want to say, but this is a very, very big topic in its own, and scratching it may not do. Thank you for that message, however. Let's progress with the messages. Mr. President, how do you lower the prices of rooms when you are failing to pay people at Sun Hotel in Livingstone and the employees always protest? All right, let's progress with the messages. Mr. President, my name is Kafumu Banda. Kindly explain the plan you have for the youths of this country who are in entrepreneurship. It's hard to access funds. Hi. Is country. I'm sure this there's a missing message somewhere. I'm the midst of a hardship. In the midst of hardships, how can you buy expensive vehicles for ministers at the expense of poor, the majority Zambian? CK Mweni Lunga. Mr. President, you articulate issues of an economy well. I'm impressed. What is your say on the unfaithful minister in UPND party, since you have mentioned?
What is this saying? Do you understand?
Okay, we can go back to that message if at all we can find it.
Okay.
Okay, here. What is your say on the unfaithful minister in UPND party, since you have mentioned? You have faithful ministers in UPND.
I'm not contextualizing.
Yeah, all right. Trying to understand that. All right, my president, never give up. 2021 is your year of a settlement. The current Babylon system government is falling from Pastor Golden Shonga, Kabwe Town. So, President, we need to respond to these. I know we have plenty of them. Let's respond to these, and of course, we briefly touch on the dialogue.
Thank you, Karan. It's a lot of messages. I've taken note of over 22, 23 here. It's very good that people are calling. But high taxes, I think I talked about it, that our job is to lower the taxes. Because when you lower the taxes, like you have now all these taxes on the internet, on boreholes, VAT, you even end up having taxes, carbon tax, road tolls, pay-as-you-earn. Pay-as-you-earn alone is 37%. Effectively, Canon, today's citizens, anyone earning money, is paying over 80 to 90% of what they earn to the PF government, effectively, including those that are supposed to be enjoying what is called a tax-free income, which they are saying 3,000 there, about whoever earns that amount must not pay tax. But because of these indirect taxes, consumption taxes, like VAT, you walk in a shop, it doesn't recognize whether you earn 3,000 or less. You still pay. The borrow tax, you still pay. Government is supposed to give citizens clean water.
All right.
They are paying.
Maybe on the 3,000, are you trying to highlight the fact that President Mwana was the PF government had said, anybody, that's a tax threshold.
Yes.
Anybody getting below 3,000 shouldn't pay any tax. Is that what you're trying to bring?
That's what I'm saying. The tax-free income under the budget of last year, it means nothing in the sense that even if somebody earns less than that tax-free income, they still pay the VAT when they go and buy something. They still pay internet tax. They still pay carbon tax. They still pay, road tolls. All these taxes on tax is because the country's economy is bankrupt. It's bankrupt. And so now citizens are having to pay for the clueless leadership of the PF. And that's unacceptable. So now, we will lower the taxes, we've already said, because you want households to have more income to spend, to invest. That's very important. That's what triggers development in any economy. Lower the taxes. Leave the money in the hands of those who have earned it. Because they've earned it, they know how to spend it. Now,
government puts it on the internet. They say this is not a tax. This is it's a levy. It's a tariff, and it's meant to protect jobs in the communication sector.
Again,
and infrastructure development.
It's lack of understanding. I've said it before in this program that the PF just lacks understanding, basic understanding. When people buy bundles, they pay. In there's a tax already. So this is tax on tax. You don't bring development that way. That's why currently the economy is going down. That's why jobs are not there. We want to put people in jobs. And to put people in jobs, you need to lower the taxes, reduce the taxes, move to a situation where a reasonably lower tax takes care of so many other taxes. A single tax takes care of so many taxes. Not this tax, that tax, that tax. If someone says tomorrow, by coming to the studio here to talk to you, by my opening the mouth, I will have to pay a tax to PF soon. By going to answer the call of nature, you have to pay a tax soon. Because they have stolen too much money through corruption, through roads, through fire tenders, through ambulances, by the way, through fertilizer. That's why fertilizer is expensive, because of the corruption in the fertilizer program. Now, my friend, the youth, yes, would like to meet them. Traffic, suspending traffic officers. I'm not sure how much time I want to. We understand. Let me share something here. When the leaders are corrupt, like PF leaders are, even those in the lower ranks learn the lessons. They think stealing money, corruption is normal. Why punish only police officers? I understand what's going on, but we must punish those who are stealing big, from the Ndola to Saka Highway, from the ambulances, from the fertilizer, from the fire tenders. Those who are stealing drugs from, public medical stores, they get away with it. Those who are stealing through the Financial Intelligence Center report, they get away with it. Those are the ones we must go for. Those are the big fish. And that's what needs to happen. Dialogue is very important. Taking long, I agree. My message to the people of Zambia, UPND have been ready. We are ready for dialogue like yesterday. We need dialogue to bring normalcy back to our country. We need to restore the rule of law.
Let me ask a question on the dialogue. I know you want to explain already. You've already touched on the taxes.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question.
Exactly.
So we dealt with that.
Yes.
So the dialogue. Probably the angle in which we should be looking at this dialogue is when the Commonwealth wanted to take up this dialogue, everybody was ready. On the last minute, the people just said, we're not going to have this dialogue. And all of us are here. Okay, let's give up. You and your party, you set it on the church, and it's now quiet. Is it going to be quietness throughout, and you let things just move the way they are? Now we see your youths, probably your party, your secretary generals, your others having, back and forth meetings at secretariats. They're at the Greens, tomorrow they're at the Reds. Just having talks. Is that the way now things are going to be done?
Kalan, the UPND, leadership, rank and file, HH, we're ready for dialogue. We're ready for dialogue. We're ready for serious dialogue. Not jokes. Not sharing cups of coffee. Not playing football.
Well, let me just mention to you that we've been given some additional 20 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, you can go ahead.
Very grateful to the station. Very grateful. We want a serious dialogue. We don't want to deceive Zambians that we're talking yet we're playing games. We cannot continue playing games, when Zambians are dying through the political and other violence. Violence is not just political. In the markets, there's violence. In the homes, in the churches, there's violence. We must end violence. As I said earlier on, the good governance President Mwanawasa put in place fight against corruption, Kalan, the violence that he ended through leadership, which is not there now, there's absolutely no leadership. The reason why you continue to have violence and talking to end violence is because there's no leadership. When there was leadership under President Mwanawasa, he simply said it ends now and it ended. Because he's the executive arm of government which controls the law enforcement, the police. Once President Mwanawasa, God help him, wherever he is, said it ends here, it ended there. And that's what we intend to do ourselves. It doesn't need many meetings to end violence. It needs people with executive responsibility.
But is it not what you're doing?
I don't control the police.
No. You're saying it doesn't need too many meetings.
You're
allowing those meetings.
This is the point I'm making. Karen, that's exactly the point I'm making. Because there's no leadership today, we're having to go through meeting after meeting, coffee after coffee, Greens, as you said, visiting, Reds.
So in short, you are negotiating. Because Honorable Kampiong is one of the ministers who went at your secretariat, and that's the Minister of Home Affairs. If he cannot say enough is enough, end to this violence, but this is a person who's still following you at your secretariat, and you're accusing the same government of failing to say enough is enough with violence, then what are you discussing?
I'm not accusing them. Today in Kasemba, you are aware that our people have been attacked viciously by the PF thugs who were moved from Lusaka to Kasemba in a ward by-election. Yet in that dialogue, that peace accord, Kampiong himself as Home Affairs Minister came to indicate that let's end violence. The point I'm making, let's not talk about ending violence. Let us end violence. That's where the leadership is absent today, which the late Mwanawasa provided at the time. That's the point I'm making. Because you don't need to move from one office to another.
These meetings you're having, are they not just watering down the main dialogue you're supposed to have? Why even tolerate them, even when you know they will not go anywhere?
Correct.
I think people are saying, those are just sheer waste of time meetings. You cannot achieve anything in those meetings.
Citizens have a point. I understand and I appreciate why citizens are saying that, because as I said to you, when true leadership is in place, you don't need those movements. It needs a direction, which is what we would do when our time in office comes. This is what President Mwanawasa did, because he understood the responsibility of leadership. You cannot be talking when citizens are being maimed, as it happened in Kasemba today, because of the by-election, which has been caused by buying councillors, young councillors, from stolen money through corruption on roads and fire tenders. You see the consequences of an incapable government. It focuses on the wrong things. So I am saying citizens have a point, because this is what it should have been. It should have been an executive decision using the law enforcement agencies, the police, that are under, the executive. So that is the price we're paying for having absence of leadership in the PF today. And you see, some caller or message says, don't talk about PF. You cannot avoid talking about people who are occupying public office, right? Because that is their duty. That's why they're elected into office, to do these things. So now, if you're saying you want to assume office, what do you want to assume office to do? You have to show that those in office...
So now, again, the question I asked, that's the duty of those who've been elected into office. So they've been elected into office, not away.
Colin, I understand what you're trying to say here. It's of no consequence. Whether somebody is there fraudulently or not, they are occupying an office which by law obligates them to act to protect citizens. This is the point. I know you're sneaking in this other issue, which you would like us to discuss. Tonight I'm staying away from that issue, because I want...
Which issue is that?
Petition issues, because they're obvious, the petition issues, the fact that, you know,
but people are already asking.
The fact that someone was saying that there is no matter in court dealing with the petition, the PF, that's what we're saying, including ministers. The Minister of Justice in PF was saying, Lubinda was saying, there is no, HH is lying, there is no matter in court relating to the 2016 election. Yesterday, in fact today there was a hearing on a matter relating to the petition. Today. It's reported today. The matter has been adjourned to the, I think, 30th of September, of August. Why was Lubinda lying to me? So, but I don't want to stay away from those issues today, because I want to do justice to subjects that affect people.
We'll bring you.
So, but just a moment there. So, my friend, dialogue is crucial. Structured dialogue, substantive dialogue, time frame dialogue, so that we are not playing a game with each other. We are not playing a game with Zambians. But as for violence, because dialogue has many issues that need to be resolved. Restoring the rule of law, 1. Human rights, liberties and freedoms, 2. Independent electoral commission, so you can have truly, credible elections. So Zambians can have pleasure in voting and choosing quality leadership. That will attend to the economy. All those are dialogue. Ending ethnic cleansing, where people are being removed from the civil service for having been born in Meru. You get removed. But you have a right to employment. That's a human right. To earning income. It's happening now. Dialogue must resolve those issues. Political prisoners, refugees, detainees, must return to their homes. But the subject of violence, Mr. Lungu can end violence tomorrow, if he wants to. Because that's what President Manawasa did. That's what we will do when our time comes. Because that's a function of who is occupying public office in the executive. He can end violence tomorrow. After 3, 4 days, 1 week, 1 month, there will be no violence.
What's
the only reason he's not stopping violence because PF are beneficiaries of violence. If they were not beneficiaries of violence, why don't they stop violence? Because they have that mandate to stop violence. I think that's what President Manawasa did. So rest in peace, once again. And that's what we don't have today. Otherwise, this issue should not be a song and a matter of peace accords, coffee, tea. We should not be drinking coffee when people are being beaten, property is being damaged, citizens are dying. That is irresponsible.
You're calling for dialogue, but while it's on this program, you've used words to me which do not point in the direction of dialogue. You're calling your colleagues whom you want to dialogue with clueless team leaders, thieves, shameless people, Chinguno plan. These are violent people, as you say, these are beneficiaries of violence.
Yeah, but you're mixing things here. We're talking about the economy. When we say they're clueless on the economy, that's why there are no jobs.
Yeah, but the only economy, they'll be telling that, look at the person who wants to dialogue with us. He's calling us thieves. He's calling us a clueless, a bunch of clueless people.
No. We shouldn't cheapen leadership. We shouldn't Mickey Mouse leadership. Leadership is a serious matter. We were talking about the debt. That we warn them that don't borrow money. Don't borrow at a high cost. Don't spend money on consumption. Spend it on investment. If you want to service the debt. They didn't do that. They're clueless. That's not an answer.
They're thieves.
Absolutely.
They're Chinguno planners.
Well,
they're shameless.
You're enjoying those expressions. They are correct expressions. We're in the context of economic mismanagement. It doesn't mean that then, Karan, you should fail to end violence because you are failing to run the economy. We cannot excuse you for failing to end violence because you can do it by exercising executive functions and using the law enforcement, the police, who should act professionally. Most of the time the police they themselves are victims of abuse. They are told, go and beat these people. When they shouldn't. That's what we're saying. And I think this is a simplification of issues in Zambia, where one will say, oh, HH was on Prime, and he called us clueless, so we can't talk to him about violence. What is the issue there? The issue that you are clueless on economic management. We can excuse you for failing to run the economy because either you have no capacity or you have no interest. We cannot excuse you for allowing citizens to die when they should not die through violence. Mr. Lungu can end the violence as the late Mwanawasa did, as we will do ourselves, because that's a duty, public duty, by occupying that office. It's got nothing to do with a criticism on the economy. It is genuine criticism. Absolutely. And I think we must be big enough, we must be mature enough to understand the contextualization of these issues. Sorry, dialogue?
Yes, I was asking, what is delaying this dialogue?
I think what is delaying the dialogue...
the church has said they are ready. What is
the church is ready. I think earlier you outlined that Commonwealth was about to commence. I think there was slowness there. Someone walked out, some people walked out and called Commonwealth a foreign entity. They went with ZCID. ZCID cannot run that dialogue because they have vested interests. They are political parties. They cannot play a referee as ZCID. And remember, we're members of ZCID ourselves, as UPND. You cannot play the referee at the same time you're playing number 9. We are the warring parties. We need an independent umpire. And if the Commonwealth wouldn't do it, the church mother bodies are the right ones. We are a Christian nation. The church mother bodies have helped us before. I think we're over this debate. We hear that the PF agrees. Other political parties want the ZCID. I don't even know what is this push, whether it's allowances or what. People must ask for other ways of earning allowances.
If the PF are agreeable to the church, then these other political parties.
So we should start the dialogue. This is why we are saying we are ready for the dialogue.
You're one of the key stakeholders.
Yes, we are happy with the church.
Have you made a follow-up with the church?
Yes,
what are they
that
saying?
is true. The church is ready.
But if the church is ready, you are ready, then the PF are ready.
I don't know about
then where is the problem?
I don't know about that. But if, instead of counter-accusing each other, let us say we are ready for dialogue, as you paid it. They, PF, are ready for dialogue. The church is ready to lead, facilitate the dialogue. Other stakeholders, other political parties should be included, should be involved. Stakeholders such as civil society should be involved. Remember, there are churches outside the 3 mother bodies. You are aware of that?
Yes.
Even those should be consulted. But there has to be a leadership of the dialogue process. And that is the 3 church mother bodies. Let me be specific. The Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops, ZCCB, CCZ, Christian Council of Zambia, EFZ, the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia. These are the church mother bodies that even those churches that are not part of this mother body, I think generally, historically, ought to accept that someone has to lead the process, and they are credible. They've done before. They took us out of problems in 2001 and the 3rd term debate. In the 90s, when the country was in a near crisis, they took us out. So we are ready. So maybe let's stop accusing each other who is not ready, who is ready. We're all ready. Let the church get on with the job. Let us support the church mother bodies. I hear some people are now saying the church is the wrong one. Let's have an independent individual. That's a sign, Colin, that somebody is playing a game on time.
Yeah, and that
someone is playing a game on time.
You keep talking about that, and tomorrow shall wake up, it'll be 2021. We have not discussed anything.
Exactly. And what leadership have we provided? If we are failing to solve problems in our country in the interest of all the citizens of Zambia, not a small section of Zambia, what leadership are we claiming to provide? Zero.
So none. The question goes still to you, sir, that if all these things are happening, how are you providing leadership to ensure that you also demand what is supposed to be done? Those in the PF, of course, I can confidently say this because Madam Honorable Jean Kapalata said, let Professor Gambari go and look for a country where there are problems, and not Zambia. So he just told them off to go out. You were just there. You were quiet. It happened like that.
What did you expect me to do?
Exactly. You couldn't have done anything.
What did you expect me to do?
So now, also, if today our leaders come and just tell off any institution out there to say, you go to, for lack of a better way, go to hell. So that's it.
No,
We just for our.
We can't. This is where the populace comes in. This is where the Zambian citizens come in to say the country is hurting. Yesterday, when we were in church, the prayers were clear. The prayers were, my colleague was seated on the right, I was seated on the left, the prayers were clear. Amongst the content of those prayers was that God help us to bring our political leaders together to solve this political crisis, to solve this economic crisis. The prayers are there. They are recorded. You were there yesterday. So the argument whether we are in a crisis or we are not, as Jenica Pato would have told Gambari, is a fool's game. And Zambians cannot afford to have leaders who are playing a fool's game. They deserve, 17 million Zambians deserve serious leadership. Because where there's no stability, where there's no peace, where there's violence, where there's segregation, where there is no human rights, where there's corruption, where there's no rule of law, the economy cannot function. President Mwanawasa proved that. He fought these evils and the economy got better. Agriculture got better. Health got better. The debt came down. Today under PF, where there's no rule of law, there's no respect for human rights, liberties and freedom, where there's violence, where there's an electoral commission that is not managing elections to deliver free, fair, credible elections, the economy has come down. So the two are, just hang on, Karen, the two are connected. And Zambians must understand that the two are connected. A leader that fought these ills was able to create resources for development. The PF that is failing to manage these things, they've created a credit crunch, a debt crunch, a liquidity crunch. Nothing. It means that these two are connected. Where there's a rule of law, respect for human rights, no violence, where there's a truly independent electoral commission delivering free, fair elections so that elections don't cause conflicts in society, where there's less borrowing, where there's less corruption, the economy is improved. And that's what UPND wants to provide. That's why we are saying you cannot sit aside and say there's nothing we can do. That's why when they threw out Gambara and the Commonwealth called Commonwealth a foreign entity, yet Zambia is a signatory to the Commonwealth Charter. Are they saying that SADC is a foreign entity? African Union is a foreign entity? Are they saying that? What are they saying? They are saying they don't want to dialogue. But I'm not accusing them. To avoid counter-accusation, we are ready, they are ready, everybody's ready, let's start tomorrow. Yesterday, we are ready.
All right.
And let's stop these arguments.
All right. When the Commonwealth were taken out of the picture, did you as leader of the UPN take time to approach the Commonwealth and hear their position, whether they've just given up, just like that? You're just
of course,
off?
You must know that I did that. Honestly, you know how I did. You must expect that I did. And the truth is that we did. Even they were shocked. Because the day that issue came, that they don't need Ankapa, they just swung from nowhere. When we were just about to sign what was called, we called basically, let's call it a communique, to confirm that we were ready. The preparatory work was done, PF was ready, other stakeholders are ready. That's when Kapara swung up to say, Commonwealth is a foreign entity. We don't want that. We want ZCID. From nowhere. Of course I followed that. I don't want to give you too much detail because it will be unfair on the Commonwealth. But we had a conversation. But even they were surprised that this happened. And we lost 2, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Now, somebody's buying time on people's lives.
All right. So the Commonwealth, yeah, I know you don't want to divulge what these are confidential matters you had with the Commonwealth. So even then, probably just on the surface, what is their position? You know, they're disappointed, yes. So they just go and fold their arms also and say, okay, Zambians, deal with your own issues.
The Commonwealth is part of the League of the International Civilized Community. That's what Commonwealth is. And that's why Zambia signed to be Commonwealth members. That's why, you know, it was so embarrassing. After saying Commonwealth was a foreign entity, Lungu was there attending a Commonwealth meeting in London. I'm sure when they were looking at her, they were saying, so what is she doing here? You know, sometimes it's embarrassing to be a Zambian because of the bad behavior of people who are entrusted with public office. Look, there was a SADC meeting in Namibia recently, isn't it? Mr. Lungu was appointed to lead the defense security. No, it was in Namibia.
Okay.
It was in Namibia just a few days ago.
Oh yeah, Namibia.
We watched pictures of people in a meeting.
Yeah, Namibia.
And we watched how the meeting was going on. The pictures are there, the international meeting. We watched. And Zambia has been tasked to lead the Committee on Politics, Defense and Security. Why did we accept as a country to lead that committee? If in the definition of Kapata and the PA, Commonwealth is a foreign entity, therefore SADC is a foreign entity. So why have we accepted? Isn't there where the embarrassment and lack of seriousness comes in? You know, these things are supposed to be handled seriously. But away from there now, we cannot continue now saying Commonwealth is out.
We've already eaten into our 20 minutes now.
Well, you're the boss. You're the boss. But the message is that dialogue must take place.
All right.
I think it's very important. We cannot see Zambians maiming each other. We cannot see people in our country failing to exercise their freedoms. We cannot. Because, as I said to you, the connection is clear. President Mwanawasa proved that when you foster the rule of law and human rights, you end violence, you fight corruption, you save money for development, and you create jobs.
All right.
That is the interest.
All right. Somebody just sent me a message, of course, asking to say, we keep crying that our votes are being stolen. Moving forward, how do we protect those votes? But let's read some messages.
More? We haven't even answered some. So that question is there.
Yeah. Let's read some messages as we go.
Sure.
All right. Some of these messages are not meant for you to answer. But
Sure.
for you to
No, the one you have asked, the one you have just asked.
The one, oh, okay. No,
Yes.
you respond to that. Just
Okay.
take note of
No
it.
problem.
What was my question again?
Stolen votes. How do you stop it?
All right. Stolen votes. Yeah.
Independent Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
Through the Independent Electoral Commission, citizens must not allow anyone to steal their votes.
And you think those that have, you mean somebody whose bread and butter is coming from there will just allow to say, let's have an independent electoral commission of Zambia so that you take them out? Is that so?
No.
When you already promised them that will go straight to jail?
No. Who have I promised to go to jail?
We are your members. But
I have never said that.
If you once the moment you are out, we'll get the man wherever you are hiding it, you rot in jail.
Let me put it clearly today, here, today. We have gone through discrimination. I seated here, and many citizens. We've been arrested. My last detention in 4 months was detention arrest number 15 since PF came into office. Most of you have even stopped counting. And many citizens are in jail today for crimes they did not commit. Here is my commitment. We will not revenge. We will not avenge. We will not treat anybody the way we were treated. Because if we did that, we are no different from those that are ill-treating us today. We would be no different from those that are discriminating us today and others. We cannot claim to occupy higher ground, and will never end this cycle of arrests former presidents or opposition leaders, when they come in, they arrest others. Because we are victims of a brutal, oppressive regime, we are more qualified than anybody to end this violence on each other and arresting each other.
Okay,
so there's nothing like
so no
saying...
minister will be arrested, no president will be arrested.
My brother, Karan, the issue is that vindictiveness, victimization of fellow citizens has no place in a civilized world. And we believe are better qualified as victims to end it. That's the point I'm making.
All right, so let's read the messages. These are our last messages, and of course, when we come back, we'll be saying our bye-byes. I know the members wanted to hear a different story. We apologize, but those questions will ask them.
But remember, we will have a zero tolerance on corruption.
All right, let's read.
You can't keep stealing money, which belongs to people, denying them development and denying them jobs. You can't continue doing it.
So if people have stolen money and you know where the money
is,
we'll get it from them?
They bring it back.
But not being arrested. You're not answering. You bring back the money, but you're not arrested. Is that what you're saying?
If you're a leader, you cannot... we've been talking about the late Manawasa a lot today. And we know the value of him fighting corruption and how it brought agricultural improvements. How it brought...
Let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. Let's get the messages. No one can compete with President HH in 2021, not even the so-called ECL. The presidency is all yours come 2021. Zambia will be finally fixed. Thanks for your vision for Zambia, but I'm not clear on one thing, your family background. Who is your father and his name, Chulu, from Chonga? Somebody wants to know who's not only Hichilema, but who is Hichilema? That's what you want to know.
He's there in Wemgo. I was just there 2 weeks ago. Right. The graves are there. Okay. I can take them there. The graves are there. Okay. I think I know where that question is coming from. Because of this debate on who has a village, who has no village. I mean, we have been in that area where I went for a ceremony 2 weeks ago, maybe for 600-700 years.
We've already answered very quickly. Let's go into the inbox. And you're saying that yourself will not get Kalova. You're saying that yourself will not get Kalova loans from Mr. C. Kunda Luansha Patamatu. Mr. President HH, you are the only hope for this country, Zambia, and I am indeed convinced how you can transform this country. We are suffering today due to lack of proper and vision leaders. Thanks, RL from Solesi. We the learned hear and get you, but the majority do not reverse dancers can hardly understand you. Please, please, Chirofia Lusaka Kambudi says, I do pray for you, Mr. President, because my eye have already known what Zambian people have not seen. I've already seen what Zambian people have not seen. Should be pastor continues later. Okay. They tell us to continue later. Okay, yes. Mr. President, yes. That's one of telling us that we need to go. Yes. We need to go, Sam? Yes. We need to go. We've had 2 hours. No problem. All right. No problem. Your concluding remarks. You can conclude either with the messages or whatever is on your mind.
I think really first I want to thank the people who have communicated to us. I have taken note of their various messages. I will take them in, suck them in, and find a way of responding to them somehow, maybe another platform. So thank you for all your messages. We really appreciate this. This is what the country must be, where people must be free to say what they feel. And no one should take offense. You know, you saw me smiling on some of the questions, like where I come from, and I've tried to say to people, look, a guy like me is easy to catch if I'm lying. You just go 40 kilometers west of Monze. You'll be in Wengo. You go and look around. Why wonder? They'll tell you this is his grandfather's grave, this is his father's grave, this is great-grandfather, this is maternal. For us, both maternal are in that. So these are non-issues. That's why, Karan, you see that. When people say things like that, I don't get angry. Because it's a non-issue. I know who I am. I know where I come from. I'm a Zambian. So why would anybody get angry if people are claiming that you're not a Zambian and you know you're a Zambian? Why would you get angry? I don't get angry because I just laugh about it. Because if they want to investigate, they are free to do that. Like 2 weeks ago, I took a lot of people to our home, my home village ceremony, a place we have lived for our genetic material 600-700 years. It's there. So it's not even a matter that should worry me. So I'm with pleasure to explain. I'm even happy to take anybody with me. Just a short drive out of Monza. We'll be home. I'll walk you around and you talk to people. So it's very important.
Let me suggest something to you. Take us there with our cameras.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can help.
Absolutely. But it's not even necessary. You don't even need me to take you there. You can go on your own. And I invite people to be free to do that. And we shouldn't be angry when people are asking those questions. If we are angry, we are concealing something.
Right, so we need to go.
Right.
We need to go.
Now,
we need to
so
go.
thank you to the messages. And we respect the citizens of Zambia. My parting words is that the economy is in a meltdown situation. The jobs will not come under PF. Businesses will not come. Agriculture will struggle. Salaries will be paid late. While people spend money on luxury, expensive vehicles. Very, very unfortunate. Because the leadership has no interest in the welfare of the people. That's how you judge a leadership. You don't judge it by the words. You judge it by deeds, true deeds. The date we talked about, all of these issues. What I want to say to the people of Zambia, do not be deceived by these defections. This is what a government that is failing to perform does. Divert attention to defections by people so that people debate those issues instead of debating the failures of the government and how the alternative, like UPND, can take the country forward and create jobs and revive sectors such as agriculture, including the mining sector we did not talk about. Because the mining sector is not performing the way it should, because it's supposed to be the largest employer in truth. It's supposed to support the economy. In truth, it's not happening. Again, this is because of poor management. So I'm saying the people of Zambia don't lose hope, because help is on the way. What is we're going through now is a wave. This wave will settle down. And for us in opposition, we are in there because we are committed. It's the right thing to do to run the country properly. We shouldn't feel like we are suffering too much. No, we need to go and eat. What are you going to eat? There's nothing more left. Everything has been eaten by a few in PF. Hang in there. A good thing has to be worked for. You have to struggle. If you're a businessman, you've succeeded in business, you flash your memory back, you will see the trouble you went through. If you gave up, you would have achieved nothing. Because you soldiered on, you have succeeded. We need to soldier on as a people. We need to be resilient. We cannot reduce ourselves to be sold in a market like tomatoes. We must be dignified.
Thank you so much.
Hope must be retained because help is on the way.
Thank you
and it's only the UPND, for now, it's very clear, that can help this country out of these difficulties.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. During this interview,
Sure.
you said in 1998, for some of us we are very young.
88.
1988.
88.
88. Yeah, 1988. Yeah, we were young. But by then, I just want to remind you that I was not young by then. If a person like me was in the same class with the late young brother of mine, Daniel Nkomo, I don't think I can be as young as you think I was. No. By the way, let me just tell you that I've also inherited all his cows. I've inherited everything he left behind. Mr. President, thank you so much.
Including wives?
Yeah, the two wives he left. They are not casted now.
You're a lucky man.
Thank you.
Wish
yeah,
you well.
Very lucky.
Thank you.